It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Schick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
And Les Webster.
Hello all.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, so far so good.
Doing well, thanks. You?
Doing alright. Hope everybody out there is doing okay. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, my corner of the galaxy has been really friggin' busy. So I got a big bag of nothing because I was backed up with family obligations all weekend. I had a 3-day weekend and not a minute to spare. So,
Woohoo!
pretty boring this week.
Alright, how about you, Les?
As far as my comics go this weekend, I've been pretty crime intensive. I read the 4-issue series Loose Ends by Image. Give me a second, I can tell you when it was. This was January of this year. Jason Latour was the writer, Chris Brunner was the artist, and it's promoted as a 4-issue Southern crime romance. It's a pretty good read, and I do recommend it if you can find it, or I don't know if it's been collected yet. The other two that I read were continuations of Bankshot and Crosswind, and I'm enjoying both considerably. They're just good stories. Alex DeCampi is the writer on Bankshot, and Gail Simone is the writer on Crosswind.
Yep, I agree. Those are both winners.
Woohoo! Well, for me, in addition to catching up on my comics, I actually accidentally came across some books from my past that was kind of nice to kind of go down that path again.
Reading the Cat in the Hat again? Jeez.
Oh yeah, sure. For those of you out in our audience that are old enough to remember this, there used to be a show on HBO during the 80s called Not Necessarily the News. It was a great little half-hour sketch comedy, would you say?
Yeah, it's kind of the predecessor to The Onion in a way.
Yeah. And one of the things that came from the show was Rich Hall's Sniglets, which were words that were not in the dictionary but should. Just words that people had come up for certain situations or certain objects or whatever that there really wasn't a word for. And this was a nice little fad for a bit. I mean, people had submitted words in, and there was actually a series of books. I've since found out there was 5 books. I have 3 of them, so I need to go find the other 2. But it was kind of, I come across them. I was straightening some things up, and I kind of found these books. So I sat down and kind of started looking over them and laughing at them again. And I can give you guys some examples of some of the words. Asso, which is a person who drives through a gas station parking lot to avoid a red light. And some of these I still think of every once in a while. That one I just remembered because I was like, yes, I've seen those. I still see those people. Hozone is the mystical place that missing sock goes from the laundry. Oh, there was one I can't remember the name of it right now. I should have wrote it down. But it's like mimeography or something like that. It's the act of pretending that you're grabbing a pen and a piece of paper and writing down a message from the phone, while you're on the phone. Someone's wanting to leave a message, and you're pretending like you're writing it down.
Yeah, that one
Okay.
dates it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, that dates it a little bit, yes. Carpet perpetuation, where you're vacuuming the carpet and you find the string, you run over it several times, it won't pick it up, so you pick it up and examine it and put it back on the ground and try to vacuum over it again. Some just great stuff. It's kind of cool to kind of go over look at some of this stuff, because I mean, obviously it makes you laugh, but it's like, why is there not words? Well, there are words, but it's just they're not part of the vernacular. So it was kind of cool. It was a nice little trip back memory lane. Do you remember not necessarily the news, guys?
Yes.
I actually don't remember ever watching the show, but I remember the Sniglets books for sure. Probably because you had them back then.
Yeah, that's how old they are. Yeah, I had them back then. Yeah, now I gotta. I guess I'm gonna have to go online and try to see if I can find those other two books. Because the books I have are Sniglets, More Sniglets, and Unexplained Sniglets of the Universe. And there's two others which I can't remember the titles of right now, but I'm gonna have to look for them.
I'm sure you'll find them on the internet.
I'm sure Amazon has them somewhere.
If not, there are other used book sites.
Yep.
Who's the writer?
It was Rich Hall. I mean, he was one that did the whole thing.
The one that I remember most was Elvis-centric. That's somebody that would wear their collar turned up all the time. Hence looking like Elvis.
There was a couple of Elvis ones. I remember there was one where it was one that it kind of explained why the band just appeared out of nowhere when it was time for him to start singing a song in one of the movies. I gotta find it real quick.
Yeah,
because there was an illustration for it, and I was like, oh my god! Showed all the band members jumping out, or landing with parachutes.
That's pretty good. I saw him. I guess he's over in the UK these days, because I've seen him on a couple of episodes of QI over there.
Yeah, I think he spends most of his time in London, and I found the word inevitable. The uncanny ability of a band in old Elvis Presley movies to materialize from nowhere whenever Elvis breaks into song.
That's good.
And one of my favorite examples was when he sang "Do the Clan."
Okay, the word I was looking for was mimicry.
Aha. Yeah.
The brief lapse in a phone conversation where you pretend to be getting a pencil to write down an important message. I'm kind of guilty of that.
Well, what's important to some people is not necessarily important to others.
Oh, and here's a good one. I don't want to spend the rest of the night doing this, but I'll do this last one and kind of mini pearl vision. Trying to envision how a pair of drugstore sunglasses will look on you without the huge tag hanging from them.
Oh gosh, hopefully our audience knows who Minnie Pearl is.
Well, there's always Google if you don't.
Absolutely.
Google can be your friend.
Yep.
Probably find her on episodes of Hee Haw too.
Uh-huh. That's kind of where I know her from.
Does anybody show Hee Haw anymore? That's what I was saying.
I find it very hard to... Well, I suppose it's possible that there's 44 bajillion cable channels. I'm sure one of
probably
CM.
Yeah, probably CMT, maybe. I don't know.
There's a station, I think it's RFD TV,
Okay.
Oh, God.
And I believe they do show, well, they had Jimmy Dean, they had Hee Haw, and there are several others that show programs of that ilk.
Did they show Mayberry RFD?
I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt they would be carrying it.
Probably the entire Mayberry saga.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Before we get into this week's topic, want to take a couple minutes to thank our sponsors. First off, want to thank Peter Smitty of Alterna Comics and of Make Mine Indie, digital catalog full of some great books. They're print, digital, or web comics. The summer catalog is available now. It is 147 pages of previews, reviews, interviews, a ton of good stuff. If you go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on our sponsors tab, first thing you will see is the logo for Make Mine Indie, and there's a link there. If you click on that, you'll be able to download a free copy of the catalog, either as a PDF or a CBZ file. We thank Alterna and Peter for supporting the fellowship. It's much appreciated. Also want to thank the fine folks at Things from Another World for sponsoring us. Some great deals going on right now. Through the end of the month, through August 31st, there's web specials going on. You can save 30% off 50 hot comics and trades. And through September 11th, you can actually do what they call the Legacy Bundle. 29, as you probably know, there's 29 Marvel titles that are going back to Legacy numbering. And Things from Another World are offering you a special deal for all 29 books.
Dang.
And, yeah, in addition to that, it's their Evergreen specials. 40% off comic statues, toys, and merchandise. 30% off pre-order manga titles. 50% off Nick and Dent comics and trades. And then up to 70% off of some certain comics, graphic novels, collectibles, and even more. So while you're on our sponsored page, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see information for Things from Another World. There's links there that will take you to their website, and it also lets them know that we sent you their way. So go take advantage of some of these great deals that they're offering. Some pretty impressive. Alrighty. For this week, we're going to have a little fun. Not that we don't have fun every week.
We amuse ourselves anyway.
Yeah. Those of you that may recall that a while back we did an episode where we did a casting call from the Adam West Batman series at Batman 66. We had so much fun with that, and the response was generally favorable that we figured we would do a kind of a follow-up. But this time, we focused on Linda Carter's Wonder Woman TV series. So what I did was I sent the guys a list of characters who I thought would fit in the show more or less. Certainly villains that were around, if not during that time, had appeared before the show. And I do kind of want to point out something before we get into this. That it's kind of interesting that the show never used any of her villains from the comic books. It was always it was villains that they created for the show, whether it was when the series was based in World War II or when the series moved to present day. To my knowledge, they never use any of the villains from the comic books. So that's kind of an interesting point. But so I sent the guys a list of characters and said, hey, knock yourselves out, try to figure out who you would cast for these roles, and we are going to reveal our decisions to each other. And
we have not
so
discussed
sit back.
this beforehand, so
We're
going to surprise the hell out of each other here. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and honestly, we try to do that for all of our discussions. We usually don't discuss what we're going to talk about. So
man, and sometimes it's hard too because we just want to start talking about it right away.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of hard to do sometimes. So I'm opening the floor up to anybody. So whoever would like to go first, just pick whoever you want to, and who would you cast in that role?
Do we want to start with heroes first, with allies?
If you want to, or just whatever. I mean, whoever wants to start it, start off with whatever you like.
All right. So I kind of started with the idea that we're in the very late 70s here. So, because I believe I saw what it lasted. It started in 77, lasted 3 seasons.
Something like that.
I think it was 3. So.
And I didn't, and I didn't, and I apologize for interrupting you. I didn't make that clear, but I was actually aiming for the present day instead of, and not the.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I went with it anyway. Because I mean, and like I said, you gave us a list of characters, so I mean, the actors would have been the same, whichever time period you were in.
Okay.
As far as that
all right.
goes, so it's all good.
Okay.
All right. Well, honestly, the first one on the list, which I thought was an interesting choice, but I'm not necessarily as up on Wonder Woman as you guys might be, was Black Canary.
Okay.
And I went with Tanya Roberts.
Okay.
I figured this is a time frame. She was. This was right around the time she did her season on Charlie's Angels. This actually might have been a year or two before that. So she was still fairly young, but obviously pretty blonde. And played some characters later on that definitely had some spunk. So I think later she proved she could do it pretty easily.
Yeah.
And some of my stuff is peppered a little bit that way. I based it on stuff they did a little later, but
no, that's fine.
Sorry,
it's not a problem.
That's
fine.
Especially given that some of these characters are intentionally chosen young,
right?
And so it had to work that way. But I thought she would make a sassy Black Canary.
I think that's a great choice.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good fit.
Who did you choose, Les?
I'm sorry, I went the other direction. I looked at modern actors and actresses for the parts, so right. I'll sit back and wait.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting too. You're talking about doing like the show today.
Yes.
I think that'd be fun. Who would you compare for Black Canary for today then?
I would put probably one of my crushes in there, Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay.
I think she has, just like Mike described, a spunk to do that kind of role. And she can do the comedy as well as the drama. And that's where Wonder Woman was sitting, was very comedic in its idea, and yet it had enough drama in it to get you through the full hour.
That's a pretty good choice. I like that. I like that one. That works. And she's been playing Mystique in the X-Men films, right? Or am I getting my actresses messed up? Okay, all right.
No, that's true.
So she's no stranger to the comic book fair. So that's cool.
She's certainly no stranger to full body makeup, but anyway.
God, no. My choice might be a little interesting. I went with Mary Crosby. And for those back in the day may remember that name, she is famous for being on Dallas as the one who shot JR. So this actually would predate her being on the show Dallas. I thought she's kind of an interesting choice. She would be she would literally be right around the same age as Linda Carter in the show, or maybe a little bit younger. And I think this one was kind of hard because I didn't even think about Tanya Roberts. I was trying to think of someone. I tried to go a little bit younger with a couple of these characters, and that's who I came up with.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Actually, I was gonna say I will admit to looking at the cast sheet for Dallas pretty hard. I came up with one, but that'll come up later.
No, I mean that's fine because I mean we are talking about trying to cast people from back at that time period. So yeah, I mean
that was a very popular show for a long time. That Dallas ran for like 9 seasons. So I mean it went on a while, and there were a lot of people floating through that show, a lot of actors and actresses.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. So who's your next one, Mikey?
Well, just working down the order that I put this on the list was the next one would be Green Arrow.
Okay.
And I don't know how unorthodox this choice would be, but I really think he could pull this off pretty easily. I went with Dirk Benedict.
Okay.
Yeah. Because between his work on Battlestar Galactica and the A-Team, I mean, he clearly, with the A-Team, he clearly can do comedy. And I think he's just suave enough that he could pull off the eccentric millionaire thing pretty easily.
And he certainly could do. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say he's pretty enough that he could do it. And I mean, the rest of it can almost be faked. So he doesn't necessarily have to.
Well, I was going to say he could certainly do the swashbuckler thing.
Right. He certainly got the right attitude for it.
Right. That's a great choice. I couldn't come up with anybody, but I'll steal him from you. I'll take that. That'll work.
All right, Les, who's the modern one?
I couldn't think of anyone.
I mean, other than the guy who's actually playing him on TV.
Right. Stephen Amell's done a good job.
Yeah.
Amell's done a pretty good job.
From what I've seen.
Maybe the original Green Arrow on Smallville. Justin, can't think of his name now. But he was on that for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, that would put him a little older, which actually might not be a bad thing.
No, he wouldn't be. That would work. Yep, definitely. Okay. So if we're going down the list, the next one would be. With this one, I kind of went. I figured we'd go a little mystical. It's something that the show didn't really do, but I figured after 3 seasons they would want to stretch it out a little bit, go kind of different directions. So I chose the character Phantom Stranger. So who is your choice, Mikey?
See, this is where I got to. This is where I came up with off of the Dallas cast list. I went with Patrick Duffy.
Okay.
Because I figured he was. Honestly, I'm literally just looking at drawings of the Phantom Stranger. I've not read any of the stuff before, but he kind of has the right build and the right look, and I know he can act because I mean honestly he pulled off stuff on Dallas and he's done stuff since then. The guy can act, so he can pretty much do whatever you want him to do. If you want him to be the dark and mysterious one, he could pull that off.
Yeah, just the man from Atlantis.
There you go.
There you go. My choice is a actor. He's one of those actors that you've seen hundreds of times, but probably wouldn't know his name. So go ahead and open up Google and check him out. Name is Joe Campanella. He's done a lot of TV and film appearances. He kind of has the look of Phantom Stranger because he's always dressed up
Oh,
in a
that
nice
guy.
suit. Yes.
Ah, yeah, I had no idea what his name was, but yeah. He's
Don't
been
you agree? He kind of has that.
everything. Yeah.
He's been, yeah. Gang, just pull up the name Joe Campanella. The last name is Campanella. And once you pull it up, if you know anything about Phantom Stranger, and go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe, or maybe you think I'm off my rocker, but hey, I think it would be an interesting choice.
Yeah, he could be a good fit.
Yeah, he would have been a little bit older choice, but yeah, I don't think that. I don't think that matters with Phantom Stranger. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, with the Stranger, especially what we know now with the New 52, he's been around for a long time, so he kind of gives that look, but he's still kind of youthful. Granted, Joe looked old back in the 70s to a degree.
Joe was old back in the 70s. Joe was in his 40s and 50s back in the 70s, but anyway.
You're right.
So, yeah. But, yeah.
So,
Wes, what's your modern take on the Phantom Stranger?
My modern take is Matt Bomer.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Bomer's from White Collar.
Okay.
He was in the movie The Nice Guys, and he did not look the same. I think he's got a suave look and attitude in his, especially in his role on White Collar. I think he would be a pretty good fit for that.
Yeah, he makes the suit look good in the show.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
True.
Which would work perfectly for this.
Yep. That's a very nice voice. I like that one.
I like that one.
Cool. Alrighty, Zatanna.
This is the one I'm half afraid y'all are going to laugh me out of here with.
You hadn't heard mine yet, so go ahead.
Too early?
Yeah, it's a little bit. Wait for it. I went with Cher.
Okay.
Now, admittedly, there's a certain figure that doesn't quite match, but my attitude here is that she actually can act well enough that it wouldn't matter.
Right.
And this is kind of before anybody figured that out. I mean, she'd been around a while. She'd been in the business for 10 or 15 years already at this point, but
her acting basically was limited to variety shows, and believe me, I'm not complaining because you hadn't heard my voice.
Yeah, 5 years later, she was like getting Oscar nominations, and so
exactly
this was the time when nobody really knew she could act, and
right.
But I think she's got the presence; she could easily pull this off.
Okay.
And kind of, sort of the look, if not exactly.
Like I said, I wasn't going to laugh because you hadn't heard my choice yet. and the thing is it's kind of similar, except for she never really went the acting route, but she was a big name. She did the musical variety shows and all that, so she kind of had the presence of doing stage shows and that kind of stuff. And acting wise, it would be only, it's only guest appearances. She could probably handle that. I went with Marie Osmond.
You started this, and I wondered if that's where you were going. The funny thing here is that she actually later did do some stage work, like on Broadway. Mm-hmm. So she actually could act.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but
in all honesty,
time,
she's pretty enough.
It,
I mean that sounds. I mean, I feel like that sounds sexist to an extent, but I don't see any reason why she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Was she too young at that time, though?
No, I don't think so. They'd been on the air since like the mid '70s. I think she had her first big hit I want to say it was like 75 or 76.
She was only 17 or 18.
Okay. So by
Okay.
1980, she's 22, 23. She could do it.
Okay.
Might be a young Zatanna, but I could still see it.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I mean
do too.
that's how the character kind of started off with the comics. So she was kind of young at the time because her dad was still going around performing. So,
Hmm.
Wes, what's your take? Who's your modern Zatanna?
I went with Jodie Lynn O'Keefe
Okay, that's cool.
because she did. What was the? Was she on T.J. Hooker?
Let me check because I may be thinking of the wrong person.
Oh, Nash Bridges. She was on
Yeah.
Nash Bridges with
Yeah.
Don Johnson.
Yeah, T.J. Hooker was way earlier than that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Jodie Lynn O'Keefe's younger than we are.
yeah,
But yeah. Oh, totally. Looking, yeah.
yeah,
She's got the look for sure. She could pull off the
definitely.
look. No doubt about it.
I remember my first time seeing her was in Halloween, the H20. She was in that one. That was the first time I ever saw her, and yeah, she's a real good actress. She's very pretty. She definitely has the look. That's a real good choice.
She was pretty young
She
then.
just has to me, a slight exotic look, which I would expect from Zatanna.
Yeah, she's got the cheekbones for it.
Yeah,
God, this
I
sounds
could definitely
terrible.
see.
I feel like such a perv saying that, honestly. But I mean, just to look at, I mean,
Honestly,
that's to
she
me
could
that.
do it now.
Yeah, she really could. I think he's
She
talking
could
about
do it
doing it now.
now.
Her doing it now.
Okay.
That's
Well, yeah.
he's
Okay.
he's thinking his
Yeah,
list
he's
is
thinking.
modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. True. Alrighty, so that's all the allies I had come up with the list. I didn't know if y'all had added anybody else or not.
I
Yeah.
threw in one that
Okay.
I had been thinking and it'll tie into one of my other ones later. Um,
Oh,
but
that's why you. Okay.
but yeah, and this was was looking. It was honestly I was looking at a specific movie and I was looking at the cast for that because it came out in like '78, and
Okay.
there was one actor in that movie that I thought would be really cool if I could find a character for him for this
Mm,
show, and so I did.
okay.
He would be kind of a young Flash,
Okay.
but I think it would be an interesting choice. And the actor was Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
I mean, picture him from his character, and all right, I'll blow this out of the water. Picture him in his character from Animal House. Now you have to flip flop it because he's kind of a dick in Animal House, but he could. We also know now that he can act, so it wouldn't have been a big jump. It would have put him in an interesting age range for a young Flash, I think, and it would have been interesting just to get him in the show.
Yeah, I can see it. I could definitely see it because
And then
I've
it
got.
would fit.
Yep.
He's got that kind of, he's got that young look, and he's got that lean and wiry thing going,
I
and
forgot about him being in Animal House.
he's a pretty bit part, but he's there. I
Yeah.
think it was his first movie role,
Yeah. Because
honestly.
the first thing I thought of was Friday the 13th. Because he was in the first one. You talk about a bit part. Yeah, that was a bit part.
Yeah, he probably got more FaceTime in Animal House, but yeah.
But he had such a great line in Animal House. So,
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
yes.
It's at least an iconic line.
Mm. Alrighty. Do you have one less? Did you add any allies to the list?
I can't say I did.
Okay.
Sorry to
No,
say.
Oh, it wasn't required.
that's it wasn't required. I thought about Flash, but I I just didn't do it. So maybe next time.
Yeah, and maybe if the Wonder Woman series had been a little more successful, you could have found ways to spin stuff off from it, and it
Right.
would have been a way to do that. It would have been a way to spin off a Flash series at that point in time, like in the early '80s,
Right.
way before they ever had one.
Right. Alrighty, let's have some real fun and talk about the villains. So the first one I had on the list was Angle Man. So who was your choice, Mikey?
My choice. This was actually where I got the Animal House thing from, because my choice. And again, I came into this not really knowing anything about Angleman other than what I could quickly read, basically on Wikipedia.
Right.
I went with Tim Matheson
Okay.
because again, he was. I mean, clearly a pretty prominent role in Animal House, and I thought did a pretty decent job of acting in that movie alone. Later on, he got to do some definitely more interesting roles as well, and I think proved he could act pretty damn well. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the pun in his name, of course, but
Okay.
Angleman, Matheson.
Right. Yeah.
Get it?
I got it. I didn't want to get it, but I got it.
It really didn't. I happened to. He just happened to pop in my head because apparently I was thinking about Animal House. But
yeah,
I mean, given kind of, I mean, Angleman, from what I read, struck me as an interestingly frustrated villain.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured something that conflicted, someone like Tim Matheson could pull off.
Okay. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. I like that one. I kind of went a different route. I think I went. Some of my actors may be a little bit older than yours, and that's fine. I went with someone who is because he's still around, a veteran TV actor, and he's done some villain roles. But I think he could have a little fun with it. And I figured if they would play a little bit more, not so much goofy, but maybe not so. He's a threat, but there's tinges of him being a threat, but not really taken all that too seriously.
More annoying and
so
crazy
I went with,
than anything else.
Right. So I went with John Astin.
Oh, hey, that's interesting.
Gomez Adams himself,
mm-hmm.
he was also Riddler.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I could just see him and those who are somewhat vaguely familiar with the character, who had a green and yellow costume, but they wouldn't do that for the show. For him, they would do like a green and yellow pinstripe suit, kind of like what they did with the Riddler on Batman. Mm-hmm. They gave him a suit with the question mark. So I could see them going that route.
Right. Add some angles and all as well, right?
It did angles, and then of course with the TV special effects at the time, they would look great back then. But looking at them now, you go, "Oh God, how cheesy is this?" So I like that. It fits. It's perfect. So.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm betting Les went with Charlie Callis on this one anyway.
I'm sure he did.
No, I'm using him as Sinestro.
Oh, okay.
Now, in this one, I'm going back to White Collar with Tim DeKay, who played the FBI agent.
The other guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could see it.
Yep.
I think that I've seen him in other things. He does comedy, he does drama, and I think he can be an actor that can stay with a role. He's not going to go wandering and just make it a farce.
Unless they want him to, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's a good choice too.
I could see that.
Yep. Alrighty, let's do this. Cheetah.
Cheetah was a toughie. because she's changed a lot over the years. And honestly, I looking at it, I realized that most of the changes she's gone through have been since this time period.
Right.
So it was interesting to go back and basically find, you don't have to worry about all of the anamorphic stuff. You can just you're just looking for a woman in a cheetah costume. And so I went with this one is sort of an out there choice, I think, because I'm not I'm not familiar enough with her work to know if she really ever played any villains. I kind of don't think so. She's really best known for comedy.
Okay.
But often the comedic ones are the ones that pull off the villains so well. So I figure, what the hell, let's give it a shot. I went with Vicki Lawrence.
Okay.
Because this would put her around age 30.
Right.
Which I thought would fit. And I think, if nothing else, she proved on the Carol Burnett show she can act.
Right. That's a pretty cool choice. Yeah, that's definitely out there. I hadn't. That's not one of them I would have thought of, but I think she could do it definitely. I like that one.
And I think it would be an interesting look. I mean, let her grow her hair out a little bit, go with the redhead thing.
Right.
I think it would be fun.
I went a little safer. I went with an actress who at this time was playing a villainess on another TV show from time to time. I went with Pamela Hensley, who was Princess Ardala on Buck Rogers.
Wasn't she also on Dallas?
She may have been. But this was one of the first ones I thought of when I started doing this. I was like, oh, she's already doing this. She was already doing this kind of stuff at the time, so this would be kind of a no-brainer. So.
Yeah, I can see it.
How about you, Les? How'd you handle Cheetah, and who did you cast as the role?
I've got 3 people in mind.
Oh wow!
Wow, he went the Adam West Batman way, I guess.
Yeah.
3 Riddlers, 3 Cheetahs. Why not?
Sure, why not?
I was looking. I thought this one was kind of amusing. It was Anne Hathaway, since she played Catwoman.
Okay.
But 2 actresses, Reshma Shetty was on Royal Pains.
Oh, was she? What was her name? Divya? Who was she?
Divya. Uh-huh.
Okay, her. Yeah. That would be very interesting. That would be very interesting.
I would say that it would be pretty challenging, but I could see her doing it.
Yeah.
And the other I had for this was Sarah Shahi. You may know her from a TV series, Fairly Legal. It only ran for 1 year. But she's done a lot of bit parts. In fact, believe it or not, she was the voice of Killer Frost on Young Justice.
Okay.
But, I mean, she's done a lot of stuff. She was on 1 episode of Psych, and just small runs for the most part.
Oh, yeah, that's where I remember her from. I remember her from Person of Interest.
Okay.
That's where I remembered her from. I'd seen her. The name sounded familiar, and I was like, oh, yeah. I couldn't remember which show, but yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Oh, man, I think she would be really good.
And she was married, or she is married to Steve Howey, who was on Reba McEntire's TV show.
Okay.
Played the goofy son-in-law. But, yeah, Sarah Shahi, I thought would be a good hit for that.
According to this, she's a local girl.
As is he. He's a guy out of, I think, Fort Worth.
Cool.
I did not know that.
I didn't either. The internet's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think she could do it, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was born in Euless, Texas. Nice.
Yep.
Awesome. Salute. So we brought up Hee Haw earlier.
Another Hee Haw reference. Holy cow.
Well, we've got all these episodes, so now we might as well just get them all in one episode and then just not talk about Hee Haw for a while.
I'm oddly good with that.
Okay. Alrighty. Our next villain, Dr. Psycho.
Yeah, this one's hard not to typecast.
Yeah.
So I typecast it a bit.
Right.
And I will admit that my choice is actually my second choice because I had an initial thought and I was like, ooh, it's got to be this guy. And then I looked it up and he was dead by then.
Nope.
The guy I was originally wanted he died in 1973. So that wasn't going to happen. And that was Michael Dunn, of course.
Okay.
Who was he was Loveless in Wild Wild West.
Okay.
But he was no longer with us by 1980, so I had to go with David Rappaport instead. Who he's another one of those that if you once you see his face, once you see a picture of him, you're like, oh, that guy.
Okay. Who again?
David Rappaport.
Okay.
He was a British little person.
Okay.
He was in Time Bandits. He actually had a role in a Star Trek original series episode. I'm trying to remember what else.
Yeah. You said Time Bandits, right?
I said Time Bandits.
Right. That's what I know him from.
A bunch of other stuff. He was all kinds of stuff. And could act, no question.
Right.
Totally could handle the role. I mean, especially a role like this where you're talking about some interesting and delightful weirdness possibilities.
Right.
From what I understand of Dr. Psycho.
Yeah.
And so I think there could be whoever is doing this role could have a lot of fun with it.
Right. Actually, damn, I like your choice better than mine. Although I think Mike could do it. He's not really been seen in that kind of a role. But I don't doesn't mean that he wouldn't be able to do it. And yeah, it's kind of, you're kind of limited if you want to be kind of accurate to the character. My choice was Billy Barty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something he had done. It's not that kind of role he's hadn't done.
Yeah, but he's a more familiar name for sure.
But he's definitely a familiar name, and he could probably yeah. And that's why he would get the roles, because he's a name that
he'd get it on almost solely on name recognition. But honestly, some of the stuff he did, he proved he could carry.
Oh yeah, I thought yeah. God, Rappaport. I like your choice a lot better. No offense to Billy.
No, right, and I actually think this is a role that would be interesting to dodge the typecasting on.
Right.
To just say, okay, fine, he doesn't have to be a little person. It could be somebody. It could be anybody. I mean, don't do it the way they did it with the Wild Wild West movie that we're going to pretend doesn't exist, because that was bad. But I think there are better ways to do that. And I think it would be interesting to not typecast it so much. But if you're going to, that's where I would go, for sure.
Yeah.
What movie was that?
Which I forget.
Okay, thank you.
What movie?
Exactly.
The one that doesn't exist.
What movie is that?
The one that doesn't exist.
Is that Sir not appearing in this film?
Exactly.
Okay.
Whose name we dare not say.
Right.
All right, Les, who's your modern choice?
I'm not going to just jump in and say Peter Dinklage. But
you're going to say...
was thinking, although he can do comedy, You know, he did have the part in Elf, which was outstanding. But I was going back again to White Collar with Willie Garson, who played Matt Bomer's friend, the one that was always fearing the conspiracy and the man. I thought he was really good in Sex and the City, and I just felt like he could be manic enough to play Dr. Psycho. He's not a tall person, but I think he could probably do the job well.
Interesting.
Cool.
I'm not complaining, but it seems like when you were working on this list, you were watching USA.
You seem to be watching a lot of White Collar from this. Yeah.
Yeah, where's Dule Hill and James Roday going to stick in here?
We're not through with the list yet.
Not done yet, yeah. Anything can happen.
That is true.
Honestly, just do them up as Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and call it good. I mean, shit.
There you go. There you go.
That would work.
Seriously, it really would.
Oh. Anyway. Back to our list. This was a character that I almost didn't put on the list because
this is a character that would be tricky to pull off with.
It would be tricky to. Well, it would be
given
tricky
the special
to pull,
effects of the time.
It would be It would be difficult to pull off. Plus the fact that even if you tried to pull it off, I mean, yeah, there was some things about the show that were, I don't want to say hokey, but kind of, but this would definitely add to the cheese factor if you try to do this character. But
oh yeah, this would crank the hokey up to 11.
Yeah, Giganta. So, Mikey, who did you cast?
And if we're gonna jack the hokey up to 11, we might as well just go straight to the soap operas for somebody.
Okay.
So I went with Susan Lucci.
Okay.
Because, I mean, she was, and I mean is to an extent. I mean, and this is a role. I mean, her role on, oh Christ, was it All My Children? I think it was All My Children. Whichever soap opera she was on, that role
I guess. Yeah.
was like, I mean, and you get this with soap operas, the stereotype evil bitch. I mean, she played the evil bitch that all evil bitches are measured against in soap operas for forever, since the beginning. And so if she can't pull off a villain of some sort, nobody can. This is definitely a different type of villain than the one she played for years, but I think it would be interesting. I think it would be interesting to put someone like her, an actress like her, into that role to see and just see what happens with Giganta from there. I would be interested in seeing what she did with the role.
Okay.
Because I think, she could hardly do anything but improve Giganta's image, I think. Maybe I'm overreaching a bit, but I think it would be interesting. I think it would be cool to see where she could take Giganta.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting choice. Yeah, that's definitely one that I hadn't thought about, but yeah, I mean that works. My choice, and I think I was influenced because I happened to be watching a movie that she was in at the time, and maybe that influenced my decision. But I thought she did a pretty good job, and there was a little humor in there, but she was playing her roles straight. I went with Barbara Rhodes, and the movie I was watching at the time was Shakiest Gun in the West, which is a Don Knotts film if you're not familiar. But she was the woman that was wanted. She was the killer, if I'm not mistaken. But during the 70s, she was doing a lot of TV game shows and bit parts and that kind of stuff. I think she could have done the role. I think she could have done a pretty good job. And I think she would have done what she could not to kind of limit the cheese factor that the character would have been to the degree that they would have to do the show. Because, I mean, you're talking about a woman who basically becomes a giant on just her will. So, you know.
Basically, yeah.
So you know. So.
Yeah, that would make it. That's what makes that role tricky.
Yeah.
Is that they just didn't really have the technology.
Right.
At that time.
It would look the special effects at the time it would really look. It would really look goofy at the time, and it would definitely look horrible now. But that's just that's what they had to work with at the time. But she definitely had the look.
Oh, sure.
Yes. And she was on the comedy with Adam Arkin. What was the name? Oh, Busting Loose. She played the neighbor on Busting Loose.
Okay.
That everybody was drooling over, of course. And that was in 77. So she would have fit that perfectly.
There you go.
There you go. All right, bring us up to date, Les. Who's your choice?
I'm looking back at the TV series The Pretender. And that was in I want to say 96.
Okay.
And I don't know if you watched this. I thought it was one of the most ingenious programs with a man who could just become anybody. In this movie, he was being chased by a character, Miss Parker. And that's who I would put in for Giganta is Andrea Parker. She had a stature, and she definitely had a domination of the screen when she was on The Pretender. So I thought that would be a major thing that Giganta had to do, was have a presence, had a powerful presence for a TV show.
I can see it.
Oh yeah, me too, totally. And I did watch that show when it was on, and yeah, I agree. I always liked her. She was mean and nasty, but I liked her.
Yeah, she could be mean and nasty, yet she could be considerate, kind and considerate when it called.
Mm-hmm.
Nice choice.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Alrighty. The next choice was Morgana Le Fay.
Yep.
Mikey?
This one I had some trouble with. I will admit. Mainly because I didn't know. Mainly because it was hard to pin down this particular character. Because, strangely enough, if you Google Morgana Le Fay, you get a whole hell of a wide range of replies.
Exactly.
So I finally nailed it down. And from what I saw, this would need to be someone really young.
Okay.
Not like child young, but this needed to be someone certainly not more than about 24.
Okay.
And so I stretched a bit here and went with someone who actually didn't really hit it big until a few years later. And it also made sense to me to go with the British actress on this.
Okay.
So I backtracked a bit and went with Emma Thompson, because she didn't actually get noticed really until the early 80s for sure, like 83, 84, somewhere in there. But this, backtracking her to even 1980 would have put her like at the beginning of what would have been her college years when she was doing. Did she go to Cambridge? I can't remember if she went to Cambridge. If she did, it was when she would have been in the Footlights troupe at the time. So she was definitely studying comedy at that point. Not that that necessarily would have helped, but she also later on proved she could act in pretty much any role. So I thought that would be, I mean, I'm not sure it would have ever been possible in any way, just because, I mean, honestly, she wasn't in Hollywood at the time. But I think that would have been an interesting way to go.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I cheated.
That wasn't cheating enough? You had to cheat more.
Well, because I basically casted someone who more or less played the role before on a very forgettable TV movie. I went with Jessica Walter. And the forgettable TV movie was the Doctor Strange TV movie. People may remember that name. She was Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development.
Oh, yeah.
She was also in Play Misty for me, wasn't she?
She was.
Yep. But she could do it. I think she can do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
She was a psycho in Misty, so.
She generally plays not likable characters. So.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Les. Our modern take. Who'd you get?
Okay, I'm going to back up a second, and I'm going to award Cheetah to Reshma Shetty. She does have that feline look to her. And for Morgana, I'm going to put in Sarah Shahi. I think that she could move about and hold the attention of anybody and everybody that watched.
Okay. That will work for me.
I'd almost prefer to go the other way around, but that's just me.
Okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Potato.
Right, exactly. I mean, part of that is, I think, because I'm more familiar with Cheetah. But
okay.
Whatever. I'm not telling you what to do with your list, man.
I'm not telling you, but I'm not telling you, but I'm telling you.
Yeah. Just saying.
Just saying.
Alrighty, and for our last one, my little nod to basically the previous couple of seasons, although you could have just had him introduced into current day, and that's Red Panzer.
Could
you could say that.
I think it would make more sense in the early ones, but whatever.
Oh, it could, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't be still around during the 70s to a degree.
Oh, right.
Or them trying to do a Fourth Reich in the 70s.
Right. Yeah.
So,
of all of these, I have to say this one's my cheat. If there's one that I really cheated on, I really cheated on this one.
okay.
Because I typecast the hell out of this. And I did so in, like, what I even view as the weirdest possible way.
Well, I typecast too, so go ahead.
I kind of well, it's not really even all that much backtracking given where he got started. But I have to go with the accent, and I have to go with the physique, and I have to pick Arnold Schwarzenegger for this. Because if we're doing this in 80 or 81, which would have been a theoretical fourth season, I mean, the Conan movies were out there.
Right.
He was just in the process of landing Terminator, and he's got that accent.
Okay.
Like I said, terrible typecasting, but, you know.
Well, I didn't do that type of typecasting, but I did. That would be an interesting choice, though. I will say that. I cast someone who's known for playing nothing but villains in everything. And I went with Richard Lynch. It may be a little bit oddball, but hey.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with oddball.
Mm.
Oh, him. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
him,
yeah,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I like that better than mine.
Like I said, he's done nothing but bad guys, so it was second nature to him. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us,
Yeah.
but he could do it so well. It was not even funny.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a character that you just love to. You're gonna have to hate, so you need someone who can pull that off, and he could do it so well.
He was good at being hated, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he was a sweet guy, but
Those guys always seem to be,
yep.
oddly enough. Yeah, I like that one.
Alrighty, Les.
For my choice, it's the man that played Detective John Clark Jr. on NYPD Blue, but is probably best known for his role as Jason Johnson on The Princess and the Marine. No, that's not right.
No,
Actually, his most memorable is Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell. Paul Mark Gosselaar. I just have a feeling, remembering him on NYPD Blue, he took control of the situations when he was in the midst of them. He was not backing down. He would step forward, and I think that's what Red Panzer does too. I don't see in the Wikipedia listing for Red Panzer that he was necessarily European. It's just that he was a strong, brutish figure, and believe it or not, Gosselaar is not small.
no, he's kind of an imposing figure there.
He's not buff, but he is at a stage where he could become that way. But he is, he's he's probably 6'3", 6'4". So
I actually can see it.
Yeah, I can too.
well, thanks. I appreciate that because that was a tough one for me.
I mean, that is a tough one. Clearly, I bombed it, but
It's
yeah, no, I like that.
It's definitely not one that's on a radar. It's kind of outside the box, but I think it would work, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with outside the box because some of those are really great choices, and that would definitely be an interesting. I can kind of see it work.
Yeah, totally.
Nice. I think there were some great choices tonight, guys. I really do.
I have to agree. I think there were two.
And it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was kind of a nice little imaginative exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, we may be putting our casting director caps on again here real soon. Dun dun dun.
Somewhere between a 3 shadow and a 5 shadow there.
So is that a 2 shadow then?
Ah, dude. You're not that bad at math, are you?
1, 2, 5.
3 stuff.
We had to get Monty Python in there some way.
Mm-hmm.
We call him Angle Man.
All right, any final thoughts before we wrap things up and take a break?
Nope. I'd watch this show.
Yep.
I just want to thank you guys for agreeing to my goofiness.
Yeah,
No, I mean that's cool. I'm kind of glad that you did a modern take. That kind of made it a little it definitely made it different.
Yep. It
So,
added an interesting flair,
yep.
for sure.
So let's go ahead and have our question of the week. Who would you cast as a villain or a hero in either the Linda Carter Wonder Woman or a current day Wonder Woman series, and who would you have them play? So that's our question of the week right there.
Woo.
So when we come back, we'll have our weekly picks. And we're back, and it's time for our weekly picks. And leading off today is Mike.
That's me. I'm leading off. My
That's you.
first. Huh?
I said that's you.
Oh, yeah, it's me.
Hmm.
I knew that. Anyway, it's my first pick is an Action Lab Danger Zone title, and it is Infinite 7. Issue 6 is coming out, and I'm not 100% sure it's coming out this week, but it will be coming out soon. Issue 5 just came out, and I've actually talked about this before. I was really hoping this title would continue past the 4 issues in the first trade, and it is, and I'm really excited because it's a lot of fun. It's the story of a teenage loser, basically, who accidentally kills a super spy and then is forced to take his place on the super spy team. Hence the Infinite 7 thing. They're a group of 7 super spy types, and it's a lot of fun to see the awkward teenager. The character who he accidentally killed is named Smash Brannigan. And so now Smash Brannigan, because the deal is whoever kills him takes his place and becomes the next Smash Brannigan, is this like 16-year-old kid who's very slight of build, and it's just hilarious. And it actually, in addition to being just inherently funny like that, it's also this very serious super spy thriller type story as well. So I like that it works on a lot of different levels. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Very cool.
Yes.
Clearly, you guys are excited too. But anyway.
No, I mean it's been interesting so far. I'm sorry, my I'm I'm not focusing on the task at hand, and I apologize. So, but
That's
I
all
am
right.
here now. Yes,
You got you
it
got your own picks to prep for. I get it.
and we'll get to mine in a minute
We
because
will.
next is Les.
My first choice is from Alterna, written by Peter Simeti, art by Kevin Christensen. It's number 2 in the 4-part series of The Chair. If you haven't got into this one, why? This is just great stuff because it takes you into the depths of the mind. And it takes you there, you are, a lot of the characters are fleshed out, and it's really well done. And like I said, it's just 4 issues, so it's going to be ending soon. Be sure to try to find this one because the price tag on it is even better. It's $1 for this comic book, and you can't get much better for $1. That's all I've got to say.
Yep, it's definitely worth picking up, checking
Yep,
out.
yep, I agree. For my first pick, I'm going with Titan Comics, and it's the first issue of a new book called Hercules: Wrath of the Heavens, written by Jean-David Morvan and art by Luki. Looky, Looky, where we are basically taking the classic hero or the hero of the classic myths and throwing him into the future in the middle of a galactic war, and he's trying to redeem himself. And I'm like, okay, that I don't think we've seen that yet. We've had Hercules run around in New York and other places at present day, but I don't think we've had him in the future. Definitely not in a war like this. So this, I'm kind of curious. So I'm gonna check it out.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
Yep. It sounds like it might be. It has the possibility of being a good book. Definitely.
It's Hercules. How could you go wrong?
Yep. Okay, Mikey.
I'm up again, and I've got an image book. This one. My next choice is Bitch Planet Triple Feature number 3. If you are not familiar with the Bitch Planet concept, it is I'll generously call it a dystopian future in which the patriarchy is definitely stronger than it's ever been in real life, and I think arguments probably could be made for how strong that is, but it's a very, very the term they use is entrenched patriarchy, and this is the regular Bitch Planet series title is about basically fighting that. This particular, the triple feature kind of side project is kind of an anthology with shorter stories based in that world, and often, I mean, to an extent, almost. I mean, they mention satire in the description. I think that's probably as good a term as any for it. It is a little bit over the top in the way it presents some of the stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yep.
Yes. I'm a reader of Bitch Planet, and these have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo! Alrighty, Les.
Sorry, Mike, as if my endorsement is worth anything. But my second choice from Image Comics is Spy Seal, number 1. This was created by Rich Tommaso, and it deals with the MI6 in Britain. The organization, which is known as the Nest, is out to recruit a new agent, and that is Spy Seal. This is what they say is kind of reminiscent of Tintin and Usagi Yojimbo. I'm looking forward to this. It looks like a very simple layout type of magazine. I'm not going to have to think heavy about this, which at my age is tough enough. So I recommend it. Step on up and try this one out.
Yep.
Yeah, this one has possibilities.
Yep. Sounds interesting. I'll have to check this one out too.
Now, are they going to do a spin-off of his cousin, Lou Seal?
Wow.
Wow. I agree.
Or his high office friend, Presidential.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Let's just roll them out, boys.
There you go. Alrighty, for my second choice, I'm going to Boom Studios. And they are doing a hardcover collection called Planet of the Apes Archive. This is volume 1. The stories were written by Doug Minich, which is a good thing, with art by Mike Klug, Tom Sutton, and Herb Trimpe. Also good things. This is collecting the old Marvel Terror on the Planet of the Apes magazines that were put out during the early to mid 70s. And this is obviously volume 1. and I definitely want to get my hands on this. I've never checked out the magazines. Supposedly these were all original stories, where the comic book they were doing was more or less adapting the movies. So although they didn't really call them that. It just called Adventures on the Planet X. But I think it was the first two movies they had adapted. So I'm curious about this one. The story behind it was, I think Roy Thomas was originally going to write it, and he actually just had like one page of notes, and something happened to where he couldn't complete it. So Minch took over and saw the notes and was like, okay, well, I'll just do this. And it's supposed to be the adventures of a human and a chimpanzee. They're friends, and it's their travails on the planet. So definitely want to check that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I believe we all have honorable mentions. We usually do. Mikey, you have one?
I do.
Okay.
This is the week. This is my honorable mention is an IDW book, and it is the trade for Daveocracy, which was the third volume of the Dave series. If you don't remember, Dave is a robot in an Earth which is pretty much run by robots anymore. There pretty much aren't any people anymore. And this third volume, I will summarize briefly by saying Dave for President.
Woohoo!
And this is the trade. This was a 5-issue series a little ways back. And this is also allegedly the final installment of the Dave series, and so it is worth picking up just for that, but it is an absolute hoot. It's a really funny series.
I hope it's not the end. I would love to see another story come down the pipe.
Me too.
It's satiric, it's crude, but it all fits, it all works.
Yep, it's a hoot.
Cool. All right, Les.
My special is the Sandman special from DC. The creators of this one are Dan Jurgens, John Bogdanove, and Paul Pope. This takes us back to the Master of Nightmares by Jack Kirby back in the 70s. These were fun reads to begin with, and this is a one-shot that is going to, it's a standalone. What more can I say? If they can really hit the character, and this would be the third version, I believe, that DC has had of Sandman. I'm looking forward to this. I think this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is part of the Jack Kirby 100th birthday celebration. So.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Yep. Awesome. Alrighty. My honorable mention is from IDW. And it's called Lou Cameron, Unsleeping Dead. This is a collection of stories written and illustrated by Lou Cameron, who did a lot of comics back in the pre-code days. So we're talking 50s. And according to the write-up, his comics have been best described as, quote, Jim Steranko meets Graham Ingalls. Some very interesting stories here, or at least titles. Faceless Horror, Lure of the Zombie Diamonds, Graveyard of Ghost Ships, Kill My Minions of Death, which is kind of an interesting title right there. And then, obviously, The Unsleeping Dead. This is obviously put together not only by IDW, but Yo Books, who've been doing a lot of the They do the Weird Love and then the horror collections that come out almost. I'm not sure if they're every month, but they're, if not, pretty close. So I definitely want to check this one out because this is not a writer artist that I'm familiar with, and I've been generally impressed with the collection of stories that they've been reprinting. So this ought to be kind of an interesting read.
Yep, it's got me curious.
And I do want to take a moment and throw out an additional honorable mention. I definitely want to do a shout out to our friend, and we've had him on the show once already, and hopefully we'll have him again real soon. James Van Haas. The Night Owl Society miniseries is being collected and it's being released this week as well. So if you've not checked that out, definitely you should. It's been described as Reckless Club meets The Sopranos, and yeah, that's a nice little description. That should tell you everything right there. So shout out to him. The trade's coming out. So go, if you have not picked up the individual books, here's your chance to get this story, and the story is not done. There's opening. We can have some more. So
we can only hope.
We can hope. The opening's there. It's up to us to let them know that we want more. We want to read more about these kids. So.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yep. Anything else?
Nothing here.
Okay. Alrighty. Any special mentions this week?
I don't have any that I can think of.
Alrighty. Well, let's get to our regular shout-outs then. First off, want to thank Maddie the Martyr for the awesome music we use for our podcast. Great group of guys. Awesome musicians. Definitely check them out. We'll have a link in our show notes, and if you go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and go to our podcast page, you'll see their logo there. Check it out. Go. There's a couple out. They've released a couple albums, so go check out their stuff, guys. So thank you. Second of all, I want to thank the fine men and women, our fellow podcasters on Twitter, better known as Podern Family. Thank you for their support. Thank you for retweeting the links to our podcast. It's much appreciated. Mikey and I try to reciprocate that love. I think Mikey does a better job than me, but I am working on it. If you're looking for a podcast, it doesn't even matter what you're looking for. If you're looking for a podcast, just go to Twitter. You don't necessarily have to have an account. Just do a search, hashtag Podern Family as one word, and have fun. Go check them out. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and checking out this episode. Thank you for downloading and listening to our previous episodes. It's very much appreciated. We value your feedback. We're always open to comments, questions, suggestions, whatever. Feel free. There are several ways you can contact us. First off, like I said, you can go to the website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Go to our About Us page. There's a form there that you can fill out, and we will receive that. Or you can just shoot us an email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can contact us through our social media. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. Obviously, we are on Twitter, at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us there and give us a shout out. Mikey and I have our personal Twitter accounts as well. Mikey is at Mikey Geek, and I'm at Tom TC Geek. Feel free to follow us. And wherever you download and listen to this episode, whether it's through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or YouTube, if you would please rate us through whatever rating system they have, whether it's thumbs up, thumbs down, stars, whatever. It would be much appreciated. And if you have a couple additional minutes, a review would be awesome as well. Anything else? Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, just the usual. Thanks, everybody.
I have to agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, guys, for checking this out. It's very much appreciated. We love you guys. Y'all take care. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,